Hey friends, I want to walk you through just a couple steps here in the Lab 2 assignment, particularly around using Git and GitHub. The code piece, you'll tackle yourself, including those directions on how to make all that work as part of the discussion here. But the actual Git portion of it, I want to make sure that you're familiar with it, comfortable with it. You'll still have to include those in your directions when you write it up, but I want to give you a demo of how that's going to look. So you go to the Lab 2 assignment and you start with your GitHub Classroom link. And that'll open us up and say, hey, do you want to accept the assignment? CIS 1500, summer 2022, lab 2. You say, yes, I want to accept the assignment. It says, okay, you've accepted, give it a minute here. It doesn't take a few minutes. You just like count to 5 and refresh, and then it's ready to go. So now the repository gets created. Again, this is a private repository that you'll have access to and I'll have access to, which is great. No one else will have access to it, including your partner. So you're just going to follow the steps. They won't be able to see your code, but you'll turn it in to me when you're done. So I'll go to this repository link here, and it's just an empty repository with a git ignore file and a readme file. Nothing else is in here. There's not a whole lot. It just says Java template. This is my empty repository template. So you'll click on the code button and say open with GitHub Desktop. So this is assuming you've installed the GitHub Desktop client from before. That's desktop.github.com. If you don't have it installed, it'll tell you to go install it. And I'll say clone. So this will make a copy of this folder, this repository, on my computer. Right? Git is that distributed source control tool. So the central repository, the origin, the cloud repository here will be cloned to my local computer here. It defaults to your documents GitHub folder. If you like it somewhere else, great. It doesn't really matter where you put it. You just need to know where. And if you forget where it is, you can always use this button, Show an Explorer, and it'll open up an Explorer window right to that folder. And you can say, oh, sure, it's right here. And actually, I'm going to click into that white space here to get that path, and I'm going to copy it, because that'll be useful in a second. Now in IntelliJ, to get your files into that repository, you just make the project in that folder. So I'm going to go to New Project, and I'm going to, instead of this path here, I'm going to go Browse, and I'm going to find that 1500 Summer 2022 Lab 2 folder here. Right? This is Lab 2 working on. So I'm going to put this project inside of here, and we'll just call this Lab 2. Right? So the project name will go inside of this folder here, which is the Lab 2 repository folder that we just cloned. I'll say Create. I'll do it in this window, which will close the other project, open up this one here, and then I'm good to go. Now I can actually start writing some code, or actually making my files, right? So I'll open up my source folder, make a new package. Here is Lab 2, and then inside of Lab 2, I'll make a new Java file, call this Lab 2, a capital letter for your files here, lowercase for the packages, and then we're good to start writing some code. Again, for the main method, PSVM, public static void main, and hello world or something, sure. We're off to the races. Now I'm going to give it a run, do a quick little sanity check, make sure this works for me here. And then my GitHub client, I'm going to check that. And it should show a bunch of new stuff here, right? Then all these ones in the idea folder, great, leave them alone. Don't worry about it. That's all from IntelliJ here. But the Java file, I want to look and see, okay, yeah, it has my code, hello world. I'm going to make a commit. So this is Lab 2 started. Again, go and write the rest of your Lab 2 assignment here, commit it again, and then push. Then what you're going to do, you're going to click the View on GitHub button to open up the website again. Now again, this is your private repository. You have access and I have access, so it won't work for your partner unless you let them log in as you, which is dumb, so don't do that. I'm going to go to the Lab 2 folder, go to the source Lab 2 folder, the Lab 2 Java file. So I'm going to go to the Java file itself, make sure I have the correct contents here, and this URL is what then I'm going to turn into D2L. So when I come back to D2L and I go submit my assignment here, sorry, this is the edit view for me, but then you go and like submit it here, you just paste that link in, and then I'm going to make sure you actually went through the correct process, because that's the same process you're going to use for project number 1 coming up here in a minute. All right, so that's all the Git steps for the Lab 2 assignment. If you have any questions, work with your partner first, and then reach out to me if you need any help. All right, thanks, folks.